Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I am Modern Party History. I create educational videos about science, history, and paganism. In today's video, we will be discussing the ancient pagan Roman holiday of Rupicaria. The video will cover what the Rupicaria holiday was, how was the festival celebrated, and what, if any, connection there is to St. Valentine's Day and Satan and Satanism. All my sources will be listed in the description below, along with some links to other videos on a topic that might be of interest to you. If you enjoy my content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And the link to my Patreon is also down below, so I would really appreciate if you are able to support. So, without further ado, let's get started. The origin of the Lupercalia dates back to since before the city of Rome was ever founded. According to the Roman historian of around the 1st century CE, Titus Livy, he states that the Lupercalia festival was first instituted by a Greek immigrant from the region of Arcadia, which is located in central Peloponnese, in the south part of Greece, by the name of Evander. The Greek historian Dionysius of Halicarnassus states that Evander led a group of colonists to Italy and established a settlement where Rome stands today, called Palatium, on one of the 7 hills of Rome, the Palatine, hence the origin of the name Palatine Hill. This Evander, who was a son of the god Hermes and the sea nymph Themis, instituted a festival to the shepherd god of the forest, Lycian Pan. Pan was a quite popular deity in Arcadia, and so it seemed appropriate to institute a festival to the god. The Romans eventually named the festival Rupacaria, and the festival was set to be celebrated on or around the 15th of February. The origin of the name of Lupicaria appears to be uncertain among the ancient authors. The Greek historian Plutarch mentions in his Life of Romulus, who was the founder of the city of Rome, that, quote, "As for the Lupicaria, judging by the time of its celebration, it would seem to be a feast of purification, for it is observed on the inauspicious days of the month of February, which name can be interpreted to mean purification. And the very day of the feast was anciently called Februata. But the name of the festival has a meaning of the Greek Lycaea, or Feast of Wolves, which makes it seem of great antiquity, and derived from the Arcadians in the following of Evander. Indeed, this meaning of the name is commonly accepted, for it can be connected with the she-wolf of story, and besides, we see that Lupici begin their course around the city at the point where Romulus is said to have been exposed." Unquote. In brief, the birth of Romulus and his twin brother Remus was a story where a Vestal virgin, sired by the Roman god Mars, the Greek form of Ares, gave birth to the twins, but were afterwards left to die along the banks of the river Tiber, but was soon found by a she-wolf and suckled for a time before the twins were discovered by a herdsman and taken in. In another instance, Plutarch states, in the form of a question, of whether the festival is so named because dogs are sacred to the god Pan, and that's the reason for the name Lupercalia. In any case, the name became associated with what occurred on the Lupercalia, and that's what we shall discuss next. What occurred at the Lupercalia is detailed in a number of sources. Again, let's turn once more to Plutarch. He describes the festival thus. The priests who are called Lupici meet in the cave where Romulus and Remus were discovered with the she-wolf, and there at one point they, quote, slaughter goats, and then, after 2 youths of noble birth have been brought to them, some of them touch their foreheads with a bloody knife, and others wipe the stain off at once with wool dipped in milk. The youths must laugh after their foreheads are wiped. After this, they cut the goat skin into strips and run about with nothing on but a girdle, striking all who meet them with the thongs. And young married women do not try to avoid their blows, fancying that they promote conception and easy childbirth. Unquote. The meaning behind the ritual acts have been explained by a few different writers. The 2 youths perhaps are representations of Romulus and Remus, who, once they defeated and killed Amulius, king of the nearby city of Alba Longa, who at one point threatened to kill the twins, they ran joyously to the cave. The use of the sword may symbolize the slaughter and peril of the killing of Amurius and the milk in remembrance of the milk of the she-wolf. As for the running around naked or near naked, there are two stories as to why this occurred. The first is given by Plutarch and the other given by the Roman poet Ovid. Plutarch writes that one day before the founding of Rome, Romulus and Remus lost their frocks, and after praying to Faunus, the Roman god named Pan, they ran about naked trying to find their frocks so they might not overheat from sweating so much. The other story, told by Ovid in his Fasti, tells us that when Hercules was in the temporary services of Omphale, queen of Lydia, in what is now western Turkey, they were preparing for a wine festival of Dionysius. And as part of the preparations, Hercules and Omphale swapped each other's clothes, Omphale wearing a tawny lion cloak and tunic of Hercules, and Hercules wearing her dress and jewelry, none of which fit him very well around those muscles. And that evening they slept in separate beds. At that time, Pan happened to be walking along and spotted them sleeping. Pan, being Pan and, how do you say to stay monetized, was eager for some action, came up to Omphale's bed, but after touching the lion's pelt, recoiled in disgust. So then when he went to the other bed, he was pleased to feel the softness of the dress, but was immediately shocked when he woke Hercules up and was immediately thrown down from the bed by Hercules, and everyone laughed at him. From then on, Pan has bidden nudity at his festivals. So I guess so he doesn't get fooled again. Whatever the meaning behind the festival, it was celebrated throughout the history of the Roman Empire. The festival became the backdrop of an episode involving the famous Julius Caesar, in which, in the year 44 BCE, the other famous Roman of the time, Marcus Antonius, or Mark Antony, was playing the part of a Lupercalia, and he ran into the forum and attempted to offer Caesar a diadem with a wreath of laurel around it, a symbol of kinghood. And multiple times Caesar refused to wear the crown. The latest mention of the Lupercaria dates up to the 5th century. The festival was still on calendars in the 4th century, as in the calendar of Halicarnassus, dated to 354 CE, and in the calendar of the Christian Pomius Silvius in 448. In the 5th century, we start seeing, during the Christian domination era, popes attempting to suppress and outlaw the holiday. In 476, the pope at the time, Pope Hilary, had demanded that the last capable Roman emperor of the West, Procopius Athamenius, the abolition of the festival. Then, in the most well-known incident, occurred in the mid-490 CE with Pope Gelasius. He demanded in a letter to the Senate the complete abolition of the festival. Many senators objected, claiming that it was an essential festival for the well-being of Rome, to which Gelasius replied, quote, "If you assert that this rite has solitary force, celebrate it yourselves in the ancestral fashion. Run nude yourselves, like you may properly carry out the mockery," unquote. This no Christian could do. Although it seems likely, there is no definitive proof that Gelasius was the proximate cause for the abolition of the festival, but the festival ceased in any capacity after the 5th century. It would also seem incorrect to propose, as some have, that Gelasius instituted a feast of the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, also known as Candlemas, to replace the Lupicaria festival. But that seems unlikely because that festival occurred on February 2nd and the Lupercalia was on the 15th. We now turn to the topic of what, if any, relation the modern holiday of St. Valentine's Day has with Lupercalia. According to various sources, Valentine's Day was established by the same 5th century Pope Gelasius. It was supposed to celebrate the 3rd century Christian priest Valentine. He was, according to legend, killed by the Emperor Claudius Gothicus around the year 270 CE, and while in prison he purportedly befriended the daughter of his jailer, whom he said to have healed her from blindness, and would sign his letters to her with "From your Valentine." This Valentine may be the same as another Valentine that was put forth as the Valentine. This one was a bishop from Tione in central Italy who allegedly married couples in secret against the emperor's orders that soldiers were forbidden to marry. Gelasius was supposedly established as St. Valentine's Day to replace the Lupercalia that he was trying to abolish, as we discussed earlier. But I have found no primary source material that mentions Gelasius establishing Valentine's Day in any such way. The letter that Gelasius wrote to Andromachus, which criticized the Lupicaria, does not mention any reference to Valentine or Valentine's Day. The earliest reference, however, to Valentine's Day and its association with romance is in the 14th century poem by the English author Chaucer, in his poem Parliament of the Fowls. In one section of the poem he writes, quote, "Birds, listen carefully to me. I understand your urgency, and I will progress as swiftly as I can. You are all well aware how, on St. Valentine's Day, by my command, you all come here to choose your mates, through the delightful urge that I have instilled in you, and then you quickly depart again." Unquote. So it appears Chaucer may have, without knowing, invented the holiday as we know it today, and as it has no relation to the ancient pagan festival of Rupicaria beyond the basic fertility aspect and the timing. We now turn to our final discussion and how Rupicaria became associated with Satanism. Satanism, or the concept of Satan, developed in Christian ideology as the adversary of the God of the Christians. In fact, the word Satan means adversary. What is Satanism and Satan is beyond the scope of this video, but I'll link a couple of well-researched videos to check out if you like. However, in brief, Satanism as an ideological and philosophical belief system did not begin to take shape until the late 1960s with the Church of Satan. A number of other satanic groups developed, and one in particular is called the Satanic Temple. It was founded only recently in 2012 with the goal of social justice and human rights. The temple claims to be non-theistic and have a number of holidays, one of which is the Lupercalia. I have been unable to find any information as to the reason behind the adoption of an ancient pagan holiday into Satanism when Satan is a Christian idea. But according to their own website, Lupicaria is a day to, quote-unquote, halo yourself. So if anyone has any additional information, feel free to comment below. The Lupercalia has had a long history from its origins as a festival in honor of the pagan god Pan and the foundation of Rome, and I hope I was able to shed some light on this holiday. So if you like this video, feel free to like and comment and maybe consider supporting me. And if you are celebrating Lupercalia, I hope you have a fun and safe Lupercalia, and until next time, go thi si auton.